A weekend of racing at Phoenix Raceway has left the NASCAR Cup Series community with far more to talk about than just a finishing order. What unfolded during and after the Straight Talk Wireless 500 has produced two significant stories that are now reverberating throughout the sport. The first centers on a multi-car crash late in the race, a collision that eliminated one of the event's strongest contenders in a matter of seconds and brought several other drivers into the chaos with little to no warning. The second story, however, may carry even greater weight in the days and weeks ahead. Following the conclusion of the race, the garage area at Phoenix Raceway became the scene of pointed public criticism directed at one driver, with competitors openly questioning whether what happened on the track was the result of aggressive but acceptable racing or something more deliberate and more troubling. When NASCAR drivers begin making those kinds of statements to reporters after a race, the situation has moved well beyond the track, and right now, that is exactly where things stand. To understand the full scope of what happened at Phoenix Raceway, it is necessary to begin at the start of the race weekend itself. Joey Logano arrived at Phoenix with considerable momentum behind him. Driving for Team Penske, Logano secured the pole position for the Straight Talk Wireless 500, a result that immediately signaled his team had prepared a highly competitive race car for the event. Starting from the pole at Phoenix Raceway carries real significance. It is a short, flat, 1-mile oval where track position is critical and where the ability to control the pace of a race from the front can directly influence the outcome. By earning that starting spot, Logano and Team Penske had placed themselves in a strong position heading into race day. The expectation, based on that qualifying performance alone, was that Logano would be a factor throughout the event and a legitimate contender for the race win. What followed, however, did not go according to plan. Long before the decisive crash late in the race, Logano had already been involved in an earlier incident that significantly affected other competitors. During the first portion of the Straight Talk Wireless 500, a crash connected to Logano resulted in damage that knocked both Ross Chastain and Austin Cindric out of contention. The details of that earlier incident were enough on their own to draw attention, but at that stage of the race, the tension that was building in the garage had not yet fully surfaced. It would take the events of lap 254 to bring everything into the open. With 59 laps remaining in the race, deep into Stage 3, at a point when drivers and teams are focused entirely on executing a strategy that can carry them to the finish, the race changed dramatically. On lap 254, Logano moved up the racetrack while heading into Turn 1. At that same moment, A.J. Allmendinger was positioned alongside him. As Logano moved up into the racing groove, his car crossed directly into Allmendinger's line. The contact that followed was immediate. Allmendinger's car clipped the right rear of Logano's machine, and what happened next unfolded with the kind of speed and finality that racing incidents at Phoenix are known for. Logano's car snapped sideways, it shot up the racetrack, and suddenly a situation that had developed in less than a second became a multi-car accident with no clean resolution for any of the drivers caught in its path. Chase Elliott was among the competitors collected in the wreck. Allmendinger, having initiated the contact, sustained damage of his own, and Josh Berry, who was also on the track in that section of the field, had no avenue of escape. Berry described the situation afterward in straightforward terms, saying it was a case of being in the wrong place at the wrong time. That assessment is consistent with what the incident looked like from available footage and from the accounts of those involved. When a car spins abruptly in the middle of a group of competitors running at race speed, the ability of trailing drivers to avoid the wreck is often non-existent. The geometry of the situation simply does not allow for it. For Logano, the result was total. His race car was destroyed. The driver who had started from the pole position, the driver who had come to Phoenix Raceway with what appeared to be one of the fastest cars in the field, was eliminated from contention with 59 laps still on the board. Logano later provided his account of the crash, stating that he had simply run out of room entering Turn 1. That explanation, offered in the immediate aftermath of the incident, would become one of the central points of debate in the hours that followed. because while the crash itself was jarring and damaging for multiple competitors, it was the reaction inside the garage after the race concluded that escalated this story into something the NASCAR community is now watching very closely. Multiple drivers came forward publicly to express their frustration over what they witnessed and experienced on the track. The language used was direct, the criticism was pointed, and at least one driver went significantly further than simply expressing frustration, raising the possibility that the contact may not have been the result of a racing mistake at all. That post-race reaction, the specific accusations made, the drivers involved in voicing them, and the questions now being asked of NASCAR officials will be examined in full detail as this report continues. The events at Phoenix Raceway have generated a level of public conflict between competitors that does not fade quickly in this sport. What began as a race day incident has now become a matter of ongoing discussion about conduct, accountability, and the standards expected of drivers competing at the highest level of stock car racing in the United States.